do increase tomorrow night, and you could even see a few showers late and into early on Saturday. I'm KIRO 7 Pinpoint meteorologist Nick Allard.
It is mostly sunny and 72 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Ursula Royteen.
Download our app to listen on your smartphone. KIRO Radio 97.3 FM. News and talk. Powered by the Pacific Northwest.
The Big Lead is brought to you by 3010 Weight Loss for Life.
The Dori Monson Show on KIRO Radio. This is The Big Lead.
What a show, what a show, what a show we have for you today. Coming to you from the Carter Subaru studio, streaming on Facebook Live. I was so torn a few minutes ago. Nicole can confirm my level of angst. There are two stories in the news, and I could not decide which one to lead with because I think they are both fantastic top stories.
That doesn't happen very often.
No.
Most of the time you know exactly.
Oh, there, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some days
lead, and where, sometimes there's nothing.
Oh, my goodness. So I watched, and I'm going to play a bunch of audio that we have from the guy in Covington who a motion sensor went off in the middle of the night early this morning. He grabbed his gun, went out, and he says two guys were breaking into his car. One of them was clearly holding a pistol, moved toward him, and the homeowner shot him center mass. I'll play you all the sound bites from him. And, you know, they're looking into whether charges should be filed against the homeowner. If the guy was actually armed, I don't see how they could file charges. But just listening to this homeowner talk, I really, really liked the guy. Listening to him talk because he sounded very responsible. He knows that we have to be our own first line of defense, and just everything about him I found intriguing. And he's going to join us a bit later this afternoon. Is that correct, Nicole?
Yes, and actually it was funny because I knew that you would like him, and obviously when I saw the video of him from the cuts that you're going to play in a little, I said to myself, he's our people. So I was able to find his phone number, and I texted him saying, so sometimes when I reach out to people, I'll say KIRO Radio, and then once they agree to an interview, I'll be like, by the way, it's with Dori Monson, just as a little,
I may be poisonous to some people.
And with this guy, though, I led with that. I was like, hey, Dori Monson Show, would you be willing to chat? And he responded with, I've listened every day for 10 years. I would love to talk to Dori.
Wow.
I was like, yes.
It's very nice. So, and you know, as Ursula just reported in the newscast, the guy he shot is in stable condition, but was shot, you know, center mass, as he described. Anyway, I'll play you those sound bites. That'll be our second top story. But there's another one that I'm sorry as a taxpayer. I can't believe the incompetence in King County, but this is just amazing to me.
The Big Lead. Top story.
And this was courtesy of our friend and colleague, Lindsay Sheldon, over at KIRO 7 News, who had this exclusive. You've heard about the scam that was perpetrated on King County and King County taxpayers?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if I can adequately explain this. So King County has a vendor that's called Washington Initiative for Supported Employees. And King County pays them for services rendered. Well, somebody who works for King County in finance got an email that was purportedly from that organization, WISE. And I've got a screenshot of the email they received. It says, "Good day. First of all, that's not how you start a professional business-related email.
Unless you're one of those scammers from Nigeria.
This sounds exactly like
how they do it.
Yeah, the Nigerian prince needs to move $60 million. If you give us $10,000 in your bank routing number. Okay, good day. Please be advised we are changing our bank account for remittance, comma, and then capital, we changed banks due to going through sales tax audit on our old account, and that gives account number, period, but then no capital to start the next sentence. We would like to update our banking information for invoice payments, space, comma, lowercase. We want invoices paid via ACH/wire. Do I send our new payment instructions? Question mark. Kindly advise how to get this updated as soon as possible.
Oh, that whole wiring thing. Wire the money.
Yeah.
That's also another flag.
So the person who wrote this, obviously English is not their first language. Mm-hmm. It's just riddled with punctuation and capitalization and grammar problems. So what is it's just unbelievable. What does the King County employee who received this email do? They changed the account and started making payments to this new bank routing number and sent them $220,000 of your and my tax dollars. When they finally uncovered this brilliantly conceived and executed scam, they called the FBI. And the FBI said, yeah, the guys who did that, they are long gone. They got your money, and we can't find them. Now, that all in and of itself is amazing, that there is somebody that stupid who works for King County who would do that without picking up the phone and calling the organization. I mean, how many times have all of us received phishing scams on our phones and via email, and we're all smart enough, most of us, to not fall prey to these Nigerian prince scammers. This King County employee doesn't pick up the phone, doesn't confirm it beyond this email, and starts sending hundreds of thousands of your and my dollars to this new bank routing number. Now, here's where this goes from just incredulous to mind-boggling. Lindsay Sheldon talked with King County's Director of Finance and Business Operations. His name is Ken Guy. And here's what he said about them falling prey to this scam.
This was not the fault of any individual employee. I want to make that clear. We did not have sufficient controls in place to prevent this type of scheme from happening.
What? This isn't the fault of any employee? There was an employee who changed the bank routing number. You know what the sufficient control in place would be? Hire people with at least a 75 IQ. Anybody over a 75 doesn't fall prey to this scam. Then you've got a sufficient control in place. But they're telling us that this wasn't anybody's fault. Now, I ask you, Ursula, I'll submit this to you. If somebody sent an email and somehow you had control of Bonneville's finances, and you just sent a misspelled, poorly punctuated rando $220,000 of Bonneville's dollars, do you think our bosses would say, oh, it's not anybody's fault? Nobody's fault.
And in that case, it would be my fault.
Yes.
But I think the company would also look to see what, systematically do we have in place to make sure that there's like another set of eyes. I mean, bottom line, there should be also some other thing. But it starts with me.
But the person who did this is unfathomably stupid. And I want to
either that or overworked and is just going through. Yeah,
no matter how much work you got.
Yeah, but
you
exactly.
Don't do this.
No, I'm not. That is a mistake, and that person wasn't at fault.
And here's the thing: they're protecting this person. We don't know who the person is. I want to know, how much does that person make? Because
I want to know, how often does this happen?
The vast majority of King County employees, meaning well over 50% of them, make over $100,000 a year. I mean, this is statistically likely, a six-figure employee who fell prey to this. So Lindsay Sheldon at KIRO 7, she asked, well, how'd this happen?
Why wasn't that email flagged?
I think this is a situation where if you quickly look at that email and then the facts that came in later, it looked like a legitimate request.
What?
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. And if this is the guy in charge of finance and business operations for King County. This is your and my tax dollars. This is the cavalier way that they treat it. Nobody's held accountable. They can ship hundreds of thousands to scammers, and he can try to pretend like that's legitimate, like, oh, it was some brilliant scheme. Any moron would know what this was. And how many of those do we have making six figures for King County? And then the guy's excuse was, this was infuriating too.
We have a total of $195,000. The total loss was $220,000. So that difference between the two is $25,000, and that's our insurance deductible.
Oh, so insurance paid $195,000. So the taxpayers, we only paid $25,000. And he says, but I understand the taxpayers might be frustrated.
As I mentioned, any loss of public funds we take very seriously. We're sorry this happened.
Okay, here's the thing. Tell us who it was. Let us see how much that King County employee makes who fell victim to such a, it's like, I don't think a well-schooled fourth grader would fall victim to this scam. But I'd like to know how much that person makes who shipped off $220,000 in some bizarre little phishing scheme. And by the way, the other thing about this is, like you said at the beginning, Ursula, every other scammer, how many of them are targeting government now because they know that, and again.
Yeah, that is the bigger question, though,
yes.
is what controls, if they're not already in place, what are going to be in place so that this doesn't happen with just about any department?
Private sector, people would be held accountable. People would likely be fired for this. Government, it's just tax money. There's plenty more where that came from, right? Okay, our top story today.
The big lead. Top story.
This was early this morning in Covington, 2:30 a.m. A homeowner, sound asleep, and he had installed. He has a long driveway, and it's a house that's off the street a ways, and he had installed some motion detectors, and the motion detector near his cars went off, 2:30 in the morning. So, like most people who are understand that we have to be our own first line of defense, he grabbed his gun, went out there, and he says he saw two guys breaking into his car. He only gave his first name, Patrick. Now, I believe we're going to talk with Patrick a little bit later on the Dori Monson show. But he told a group of reporters that they posted this at comonews.com, but he told them what happened.
Yeah, I've got some cameras, up above there, and that caught everything, the whole thing. And I came out, saw the guys, caught him literally red-handed with the car. And the guy turned around, and he had what appeared to be a pistol in his hand, and then he hid behind the vehicle. And I just took cover behind the 4Runner and had to put him down. He started coming right at me, and then the other guy took off right to my left, and I didn't want to shoot anybody.
He didn't want to. He went to bed. He's asleep. He didn't go to bed wanting to shoot somebody early this morning. But somebody was breaking into his car, as he said. And he said that he did clearly see a weapon in the guy's hand.
He had at least one firearm on him, at least one.
At least one firearm. And he says that he was advancing toward him, and that's when he opened fire. So, of course, the police are going to investigate. But based on what Patrick said earlier, and we'll talk to him about it a little bit later on the show, I hope they couldn't possibly charge this guy if the car prowler was indeed armed. And here's why Patrick thought his home in their area in Covington was targeted.
It's been a great neighborhood, and it's very private. As you can see, there's a lot of trees and a lot of cover. And, people, they're just out exploring and doing whatever they do. And unfortunately, these guys were literally doing nothing good, and it turned out bad for them.
And he said it turned out bad for them. And again, the guy's in the hospital. He was shot center mass. We don't know his condition or his prognosis, but that's the consequences of when you engage in car prowling as your way of making money. And he had posted that he had cameras out there.
I don't think they give a damn.
No, they don't. And this is what Patrick carries and how he would use it.
I use a 9mm. I fired one shot. That's all it took.
Where'd you hit him?
Right in the center of mass. That's how you do it.
Right in the center mass. That's how you do it. And he was asked, would you ever expected that you'd have a bunch of reporters in the wee hours of the morning asking you about shooting a guy?
I'm just an average guy, I used to coach over at the high school, and I own a small home business, and just minding my own business, sleeping in bed. The alarm goes off, and I'm like, what's going on?
And so he also recommends, he said that he just got these security and surveillance cameras, motion detectors at Costco. Sounds like he put them in himself, and he says everybody these days should do that.
$200 at Costco. Catches them red-handed.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's why I'm not arrested.
Exactly.
The police look at it, and they're like, wow, okay. Good thing you got the cameras there. And it's just a terrible situation.
Terrible situation. And so it sounds like the police have already reviewed the video before Patrick talked, and they gave him preliminary indication that it was a justifiable shoot. And again, I'm sure Patrick doesn't want to be in this situation, and I can't even imagine what it's like to shoot another human being. We'll ask him that question when he joins us later this afternoon. And I'm sorry for him. He's in that situation. For the car prowler, it's cost of doing business, sounds like to me. And that is your big lead for today.
The Big Lead on KIRO Radio.
Oh, and the hits just keep on coming. So Mitzi Johanknick, the lying King County sheriff who refuses to talk to me, she made some specific allegations against her predecessor when she talked to Jason Rance yesterday. Her predecessor, John Urquhart, will respond next as the Dori Monson Show gets rolling.
This hour of the Dori Monson